Welcome to Travel Tutorials from My Happy Suitcase. In today's session, we're going to talk about money, specifically foreign currency. I get asked from a lot of people, what should I do about foreign currency? What do I do in terms of getting money and having money and making sure that I can access money while I travel? You have a few different options, and you can use a hybrid model of a couple of options, and it's really going to be what you are most comfortable with. So in terms of cold hard cash, what you can do is ahead of time, if you'd like to have some money in your pocket before you even get on that plane, contact your bank. Most banks will allow you to do foreign transactions, so whether it's debit out of your checking account or you take some cash in and they exchange it for you, they are able to do that. A few things to know about that is unless you live in kind of a big city, many smaller local banks actually need more time. They can't just change it there on the spot. So they might need a week or even up to 2 weeks to be able to get you that money. So make sure you build that time in ahead of your departure date. You can also, once you get to the airport, go to one of the currency exchange booths. You can walk right up, hand them any amount of money, or you use a debit card or a credit card, and they'll give you the foreign currency. One downside to using the foreign exchange currency booths is, it is going to be more expensive. They'll charge you a surcharge, and you're not going to get the best rate. But for some people, it's more of a comfort thing. They like knowing that they have that money in their pocket before they get on the plane. Those currency booths also exist on the other side. So when you land at the airport, you can also do the same. Grab your bags, go to the currency booth, do an exchange, and be on your way. Another thing to know about those booths, however, is if you're using a credit card, check with your credit card company, because if you take out foreign currency against your credit card is likely going to charge you a much higher rate. They see it as an extension of lending you money, direct money, versus a credit card transaction. Another way to get access to currency is to go to an ATM. So once you land, pretty much in every arrivals hall I've been in, whether it's baggage claim or on the other side of customs, there will be ATMs. Most banks will have some ATMs in the airport, so you can go to the ATM, use your debit card just like you would at home, put in your PIN number, and get out some cash. Try not to use the ones that are attached to the currency exchange booths, because again, they're going to charge a surcharge on that transaction. In terms of how much money do you want to take out, again, it's up to you. I typically don't actually travel with foreign currency. I usually travel with anywhere between $40 and $100 worth of U.S. money that I know I can exchange on the other side if I absolutely have to in an emergency. But you can also make sure that you have that money taken out from the ATM that gets you through that first day. That's typically what I do is, what's enough to maybe get me through 1 or 2 days. Because the downside is if you take out a bunch of money, and typically your bank will limit how much you can take out anyway, but if you take out a bunch of money and you don't spend it, then you either go home with a bunch of foreign currency that you may not ever use again, or you can go to the currency exchange booth, change it back into your local currency, but again, you're going to pay that fee and you're not going to end up with as much money as what you gave them in the first place. The other downside of taking out too much cash is there's actually quite a lot of places that are going pretty cashless. I was in Amsterdam last year, and there were quite a number of stores that had no cash signs in the windows. They would only accept credit cards, even for small amounts, like $3 stroopwafel. They wanted a credit card. So cash is becoming less and less prevalent in a lot of other countries. So in terms of if you're not going to use cash, things to know about using your credit card. A couple of things you want to check. So I have a Capital One credit card. It's one of the credit cards out there that does not charge you a foreign transaction fee, which I really like. So you can use it and they'll just charge you, whatever the prevailing exchange rate is. There's lots of other companies that offer this as well. So check with your credit card provider and find out, what's that surcharge, if there is one, that they're going to charge you. Typically it might be 1-2%, but it's good to know what that is ahead of time so you can plan for it. The other nice thing about using a credit card is that you will get the best rate of the day. So when that transaction goes through, they will actually charge you at the best exchange rate of the day, not the exchange rate at the minute of your transaction. So you're always going to get the best deal when you use a credit card. Whereas when you use cash, it's whatever that transaction rate was the day you took out the cash. And if it goes down while you're there, then you've actually just lost a bit of money. The other thing about credit cards you'll want to check, make sure you have a chip. These came out in the US recently, but they've been all over the world for at least 10 years. And every vendor I've been to in the last sort of 6 or 7 years has dealt with chip. If you have an old credit card that is a swipe card, you might find that you're going to run into some difficulties. I have actually run into some vendors that don't accept those. You have to have the chip. In Europe especially, I know for sure that they have chip and PIN. In Canada it's the case, even in, I know, Australia and New Zealand. So your credit card with a chip also has a PIN number. Now, in the US, we're not quite there yet. Many banks are starting to make that transition, but it's worth checking with your bank to see if they can put a PIN against your credit card. That way, it just gives you a little bit extra layer of security when you travel, so that if you should happen to lose your credit card, someone can't use it simply by putting the chip in. They actually also have a PIN number to go with it. I would recommend taking 2 credit cards. So if you have 2 credit cards from 2 different financial institutions, take them both. I was in Italy years ago and I had 1 credit card with me and my debit card, both linked to my bank, and they put a freeze on my account because there was suspicious activity, and I now had no access to money whatsoever. So thankfully my friend was able to bail me out, but it's a good idea to have 2 separate credit cards and 2 separate institutions. And then a final way that you can pay when you're traveling, if you have an iPhone or an Android phone that comes with NFC communications, NFC is a way for you to do contactless payments. So you might even have a credit card that lets you do NFC. If you have something on your credit card with that sort of symbol, then you can actually use your credit card for contactless payments. Otherwise, set up your phone to use contactless payments. And you set it up, you put your credit card number into your phone, and then anytime you're at a store and you see that logo on the terminal, you can just take your phone, waft it, as they call it, over the terminal, and it'll process your transaction. You don't need to take out your wallet. You don't need to take out any credit cards or any cash. You just flash your phone over the terminal and the transaction will go through. So it's a really nice, convenient way to be able to pay while you're traveling. One thing to keep in mind though, some vendors do impose a limit on how much you can use in a single transaction. It might be 30 pounds in England. I know one place I went to, 50 pounds, 60 euros. Other places it's unlimited, so it's just good to be aware that if for some reason it's turned down, it might be because you are over the limit of what they allow for contactless phone payments, and you just have to pull out your credit card. Sometimes your bank wants you to pull out your credit card periodically just to ensure that it really is you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem. All right, well, hopefully some of this information gives you some useful tips and advice about what to do with currency when you travel. For other tips and useful information, you can check out the videos on this YouTube channel or go to myhappysuitcase.com. Thanks for watching.